Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be talking about another upcoming snowstorm that is potentially coming up for a lot of the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes areas like that. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. And I'd also highly recommend that you check out our very exciting Patreon page where we're actually making a post about that potential snow event coming up for Virginia today, throughout the day today. So you can check that out. Also, our very exciting store that's going to be in the description in the pinned comment down below, where you can check out our hoodies, mugs, and masks, things like that. All right, now for today's comment of the day, I want to know if this snowstorm does happen. First off, do you think it's going to happen? And if so, which state do you think would get the most snow? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Now here we are taking a look at kind of Thursday, December 10th time frame, and really that's not too far away if you think about it. It's about 3 days, so it's about the appropriate time to start talking about this event. We have two kind of areas of energy here that I want you to pay attention to. One, we see the greens down there for New Mexico and Texas, and then one up there for Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota. We see snow going on up there. And as we take it to about very early on the morning on December 11th, you can see these are starting to really come together. So that's what we're going to see happen. We're going to see these two areas of energy kind of merge together, and that looks to be our potential upcoming, I think, major snowstorm, just based on the setup we have. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to move on. And we're only going to move on towards the afternoon hours of the 11th, and we're actually going to see a lot more heavy snow begin to develop for the upper Midwest and the plains. All right, and again, here we are by about maybe about 12 p.m. on Friday, December 11th here. So we're a couple of days away, but we can see that there is some pretty moderate to heavy snowfall going on throughout areas of Montana, Wyoming, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, and Minnesota there. It is all kind of just one area of energy now. It has all come together. It's very common in the wintertime to see kind of merging areas of energy like this, and oftentimes those are the ones that drop the most amount of snow. So that's kind of what's increasing my confidence of a more major snowstorm here. Also, the models are calling for major amounts of snowfall as is anyway. So there's multiple things that are leading me to believe this will probably be a major snowfall event. Obviously, since we're a few days away, the probabilities are a little bit lower than if it was like, let's say, tomorrow. Obviously, I'd be pretty confident that there's going to be pretty much what the models are calling for is going to be relatively correct. So things can change, although I think the likelihood of this being basically what I'm thinking is quite high at this point. All right, now let's just take it to about maybe 5 p.m. on Friday, December 11th, and you can see a lot of that heavier snowfall is mostly located for the Dakotas and Minnesota, and this is according to our Canadian model. Although some of the other models have this in a little bit of a different area. That's common this far out for the models to be disagreeing on the area, but really they're in pretty good agreement of the amount of snowfall. So that's the good news. They are quite confident in that. We have a 997 millibar low pressure center located over Iowa right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on, and we're going to move on towards approximately the early morning hours of Saturday, December 12th. We're just going to move on from that point forward. All right, and by the time we're taking a look at perhaps around 3 a.m. on Saturday, December 12th, you can see that we actually still have moderate snowfall going on for South Dakota and Minnesota especially, but also portions of North Dakota and Nebraska still. Even some areas of snowfall going on down there for New Mexico and Texas. I don't know how reliable that is. Obviously, this is very far out, and that's kind of a lower probability type factor. So we'll need to watch and see. It is possible, obviously. Notice now our low pressure system has moved into southern Minnesota as a 998 millibar low pressure center, and that heavy snow is just to kind of the west and north of it. This would be accumulating very fast that far north. Usually we see higher ratios when it's colder. Obviously in Minnesota and South Dakota, we will have more potent cold available for this snow event than we would for, let's say, Rhode Island or Connecticut, as areas that were snowing there just a few days ago were in the 30s, whereas probably Minnesota and South Dakota is a lot colder than that. All right, let's go ahead and move it towards about the afternoon hour of Saturday, December 12th now. And you can see our low pressure center has moved up into the northern peninsula of Michigan there. We also have a secondary low that is now moving into Arkansas, Missouri, even bringing some snowfall to Missouri there. Obviously, that's another factor that would be kind of low probability that we will need to watch and see. The higher north you go, the more confident we are in the snow happening. Really, when you start to get far out on a model run, the general rule of thumb that I would recommend is if it makes sense, it's probably higher probability, and if it doesn't make any sense or it makes very little sense, it's probably a lot lower probability. All right, now what we're going to do is we're actually going to move on again. We're going to just move on a little bit further with our Canadian model towards the 13th and even in through a little bit into the 14th. And then we're going to move on and take a look at what our European model has to say, GFS model has to say, and then we're going to finally get into those totals as far as snowfall goes from all three of these models. So first things first, here we are taking a look, and this is going to be approximately maybe 2 a.m. on Sunday, December 13th. So this is like very, very early. And what we're taking a look at is first off a very big warm up in the east, I guess the eastern quarter of the United States that extends into a lot of the northeast and some of the southeast as well. But we do see that light to moderate snowfall still going on for the upper Midwest and portions of the Great Lakes. And eventually, as we move towards about 8 p.m. on the 13th, so I guess we don't necessarily get into the 14th. We get very close, though. We do see a lot of those snow showers extend all the way into through the Ohio Valley, as it looks like a cold front has moved in. It's pretty much along the Appalachian mountain range there at this point, but we can see that a lot of snow has... Well, it's changed from rain to snow for a lot of the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes because that cold has moved in. Obviously, again, that's another one that's like a really smaller scale type event that we'll need to wait and see if that would happen. Here's the European model, and really this one this is kind of more towards the beginning of this storm. This is kind of Saturday, the 12th afternoon. As you can see, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and even Michigan a little bit seeing some heavier snowfall. We even get those snowfall showers a lot further east on this model by 8 p.m. on the 13th. Let's take a look at that GFS model real quick. And this is by the 11th. You can see it's a lot further south. Iowa, Nebraska, even Kansas getting some snowfall there. And then it actually moves a lot further north than the other models. It has mostly northern Wisconsin and the upper peninsula of Michigan. They're getting most of that snowfall. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to move on and we're going to take a look at all three of our models as far as their total snowfall with this storm. The one thing they all agree with is that there's going to be a lot of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to present that in just a moment. All right, now here we are taking a look at the total snowfall according to, again, all three of these models. The one thing I want to mention here is we're taking a look at that Canadian model. I know it's kind of distracting that there's a bunch of snowfall going on all over the place. A little sneak peek at that Patreon post. You can look down at Virginia. There is a bit of snowfall expected, so be on the lookout for that. If you are a patron or you want to join the Patreon, we are making a post exclusively about that miniature snow event in just a couple of minutes after I make this video. For our actual snowstorm, though, we can see the Dakotas, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota. We're taking a look at some pretty heavy snowfall, actually. First off, in the grays, we're taking a look at about a dusting to an inch or so. And then in those blues, 2 to 6 inches of snow, pretty much. And then for the purple shades, that's where you're at about 6 to 9 inches of snow. And then in those pinks, that's where we're taking a look at 10 to maybe even 20 inches of snow. And you can see it even turns a little bit pastel there for some regions in central and northeastern South Dakota there on this model exclusively. Even western South Dakota there as well. I know it's a little higher elevation out there. That's where you're 20 inches plus. So yes, a bunch of snowfall is expected according to this model for all of these regions. But as we move towards the European model, there is a bunch of snowfall, it's just in a very, very different location. And like I said before, guys, that's the kind of thing that can be really kind of up in the air this far out. When you're about 3 to 4 days out, that's kind of the biggest thing that's usually up in the air. That's where you're more confident that a storm is going to happen at about the 3 to 4 day range. That's when we start really taking it seriously. But the actual location is really just all over the place. Here we can see Wisconsin and Michigan mostly getting a lot of that snowfall. Pretty much nothing for North and South Dakota. So don't feel too comfortable. There is a lot of options on the table here. The Canadian model has it a lot further west than the rest of the other models. So let's just take a look at our GFS model to close things out. And as you can see, it kind of looks like the European model actually. So I would say there's a 75% chance that the European and the GFS models are correct, and probably like a 25% chance or less that the Canadian model, which was the first solution, is correct. So we're going to have to wait and see which one of these models really has the best handle on it. But when you see the GFS and you see the European model agreeing on something, that's actually quite significant. And that's a big, big factor to pay attention to moving forward. When those two models agree, that's a really big sign that they're on to something good. If they start to disagree, then that's kind of a big, big question mark in the grand scheme of things. Anyway, for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, how much snowfall have you seen so far this winter? And I asked other snowfall questions, but this one really caught my attention. Krista said, have I seen any snow this winter? No, I live in Florida. Wait, why am I even watching this video? And I find that so funny. A lot of random people like that watch my videos when it doesn't even actually, it's not even really relevant for them at all. So I hope Krista's watching this video. You're probably not, but you did win comment of the day. You probably will never even know that you did, but I found that comment very funny. Anyway, for our Patreon highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our Diamond patrons, Michael Codalessa, Alicia Davis, Marcus Connolly, Catbite, Alan Cherry, Terry Curtis, It's Jay, Cindy Klein, Bill Roberts, Kellen Manhart, Michael Buell, Mariah Vieira, Noah Harley, and Mark J, alongside our Platinum patrons, Adam S., John Benbenick, Justin Quantrell, Donna Carnes, Alan Belemo, Larry LePan, Dovey Nagel, James Wade, and Cameron Marshall. If you would like to be on this Patreon end screen, you can do so by joining our Patreon in the description and the pinned comment down below. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.